Hello students, welcome to this math video on linear metric conversions. I'm sure you've seen the metric staircase before. So let's begin by filling in all the empty boxes. Let's start with units. So because we're talking about linear conversions, we're talking about 2D measurements. So in this box we have meter, and the symbol lowercase m. Let's move up the staircase one step, and we have the prefix deca and the symbol DAM, decameters. Let's move up the next stair. In this box, I want you to write hecto, symbol HM, hectometers. And then the last box, a box we're very familiar with, is kilo, KM, kilometers. So let's move down the metric staircase from meter. Notice meter we have here unit. Now if we were talking about volume, it would be liters. If we were talking about mass, it would be grams. So let's move down one step from the unit step. And it is deci. Symbol DM, decimeter. The next step down is centi. cm, centimeter, a unit that we've been using all of our lives. And then the last one in this metric staircase is milli, M-I-L-L-I, symbol mm, millimeters. Okay, so the first step for linear metric conversions is you have to memorize the metric staircase. You have to know what the biggest unit is, what the smallest unit is, and every unit in between. So how do we use this metric staircase? So let's go on and review our rules. So rule number one, as you move, so here's a pictorial representation of rule number one. So as you move down the metric staircase, the basic operation is multiplication. And I want you to write here in brackets, numbers get bigger. So let's think about that. It kind of makes sense. If I gave you a number in meters, and then I asked you to convert it to centimeters, we would be moving down the metric staircase. The number of centimeters would be much larger than the number in meters. So that's rule number one for the metric staircase. Let's look at rule number two. In fact, rule number two is the exact opposite as rule number one. As you move up the metric staircase, the basic operation is division. And I want you to write this little reminder here. Numbers get smaller. Okay? And that makes sense too, because if I gave you a number in meters and asked you to convert it to a number in kilometers, we would move up the metric staircase and the number of kilometers would be a much smaller number than the number in meters. So now let's talk about rule number three here. Okay, rule number three. Each step on the metric staircase represents multiplying or dividing by a factor of 10. So this jump between kilometers and hectometers represents a jump of multiply by 10 or divide by 10 depending on which direction you're moving on the staircase. So let's see how we use these rules when we look at some examples. So we're going to do the first two as our examples. All right, example number 1. 12 centimeters equals how many millimeters? So let's have a look at the metric staircase. We're going to start at the centimeter step and we're going to move to the millimeters. So here's how you show your work. So the first thing is, let's write what we're asked to convert. We're asked to convert centimeters to millimeters. So what does that represent? Well, if we're on the centimeter step and we move to the millimeter step, we are actually moving down the metric staircase. And how many steps are we moving? We are moving down 1 step. Okay, so what does this mean in terms of our rules? So, therefore, because we are moving down the metric staircase, the basic operation we're using rule 1 is multiplication. So let's put multiplication here. And now let's use rule number 3. Each step on the metric staircase represents multiplying, in this case, by a factor of 10. One step means multiplying by 10. So that means we take 12 centimeters and we multiply it by 10. Now early in the year, we learned how to multiply very quickly, multiply and divide by factors of 10. If we're multiplying by 10, we simply move the decimal place 1 place to the right, so we end up with 120 millimeters. 12 centimeters equals 120 millimeters. Okay, let's go on to example 2. 0.6 meters equals how many centimeters? So let's look at our metric staircase. We're starting at meters and we have to travel downwards to centimeters. So let's show our work. So we're asked to go from meters to centimeters. So if we're moving on the staircase, we have to move down the metric staircase and we are moving 2 steps. Okay? Therefore, moving down the metric staircase means rule number 1. So we have to multiply. And then we use rule number 3. For each step on the metric staircase represents multiplying by a factor of 10. So we're multiplying 2 steps, so that's times 10 times 10. Now, of course, all that means is we're multiplying by 100. So 0.6 meters times 100. So we move the decimal 2 places to the right, and we get 60 centimeters. So I hope that's pretty clear, and I'd like you to finish and work on examples 3 to 8 on your own, and we'll take them up. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.